Hi, I'm Rick Lobdell. Welcome to another episode of Concrete Mystique, the podcast. Today's show is sponsored by FloorMaps. Today on the show, Rachel Knigge. Hi, welcome to another episode of Concrete Mystique, the podcast. Today, I have, now before I even say it, is it Rachel Knigge, Rachel Bruce, Rachel
Knigge Bruce.
Rachel Knigge Bruce.
Soon to be Rachel Knigge Hogan.
I was just going to bring that up too. Soon to be. Breaking news, ladies and germs. Well, first of all, thank you very much for coming. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers to you.
Appreciate the fact that you took the time to come to the studio to do this interview.
Thank you.
Now we are here. You guys have been here for just barely 24 hours?
Just barely.
Just over.
Yeah.
Just over.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They came in to help me with this crazy, stupid idea that I had. Because I'm a member of ASCC, the Tilt Up Concrete Association, there's members that are in both organizations. And so there's this whole world of Tilt Up Concrete that I don't know anything about. I'm pretty sure you know barely anything about it either.
I'm with you.
But they're friends of mine from ASCC, so they contacted me and said, hey, we're coming to Nashville for our conference this year, and they're doing this competition called the Mock-Up Medley. And they were wondering if I would like to join their team. And I'm like, huh? What are you talking about? Like, I have no clue where to go with this. I have no clue what you're talking about. In fact, to make this even funnier, this is how stupid I am. There's a Tennessee Concrete Association, and there's a Tilt Up Concrete Association. They're both TCA. So when he first said TCA's coming doing a thing in Nashville, I'm thinking it's the Tennessee Concrete Association. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. You're doing something with the locals. And yeah, of course I want to be involved. And then I'm in the middle of the first meeting with them, and they keep talking about, like, TCA when we were in Miami. And I'm like, why would the Tennessee Concrete Association be in Miami? That doesn't make any sense. So then I finally typed it into my computer in the middle of the Zoom call. And I'm like, Tilt Up Concrete Association. That's how clueless I was about what I was getting into before this last couple months. So they built this wall. It was their idea, other than the artwork I was going to do on it. But they built this structure that's supposed to be influenced by the Country Music Hall of Fame. It's not an exact of anything. It's just that's the creative influence to this design that they came up with that we voted on. They made like 15 different designs. They have an architect, an engineer, and these tilt-up concrete guys, and then me. And so that's where this all started. So then I contacted Rachel and was like, hey, can you help me out? I need a stencil that I can use for this. And she was like, oh, this is a great idea, and made it harder on us.
I did not. You asked for the halftone. I gave it.
Well, it would have been just as hard. It would have been harder to still to do color. Okay, so let's start with, when you say halftone, explain to them what halftone is.
A halftone, we create a vinyl stencil of a series of dots going from small to large that create the whole image itself. So he gave me an image, and I used our technological we used Illustrator with some special effects to create a halftone and vectorized it, and then we cut the vinyl. I'm doing a horrible job.
I'm going to ask you more questions. I'm going to try to turn this in layman's terms for everybody listening. But this kind of stuff happens all the time too.
Yeah.
It's like even people that take my class, we have a different philosophy and a different vocabulary that you can talk to me now because you know my lingo, what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And that's something that you and I have always understood, because we're on different sides of what we consider art in concrete, to be honest with you. It's not that we are doing the same thing. We are in two different worlds at the same time. I always have that people always say we're on a journey together. And I always say, no, we're not. We're on two different journeys that are running into each other for a moment. And during that moment, we get to walk together and we get to do this
and hold
because
hands.
we're doing such a, yes.
Skip down the...
And I think we have done a lot of skipping together.
Yeah, we have. We have. Well, but the halftone, the design that you chose, was 8 foot by 8 foot tall and a total of almost 6 feet wide.
Yeah.
Concaved.
Just to add another.
I'm the one that handed all the. So to create a halftone on a concave surface, the halftone design ended up being 63,000 dots, 9 dots per inch.
Dots. You're
Yeah.
talking little tiny specks.
Little circles.
Little stars.
Yeah.
I called them stars. They did not look
Yeah.
like circles. That's because the circle is what we sprayed.
Yes.
The leftover between the circles
Yeah.
is the sticker.
Yeah. And so all of these dots form an image. Whenever you're really close up, it just looks like a series of dots and looks very graphic. The further away you get, the more you can pick out the details. And he chose the highwayman. So we created an original graphic using ChatGPT. Am I
Okay.
allowed to say that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean,
Because I think it's really cool.
okay, so let me explain this in layman's terms now that you've
Okay.
tried to explain all this.
Yeah,
Okay?
okay.
This is the easiest way you could have explained this.
All right.
You ever read the newspaper?
Yeah, it's just like a newspaper.
It's just like a newspaper. And when you look up really close to the newspaper, you see these little tiny dots that made everything that's on there. And it's the way that it printed back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the exact same technique, except for printing it. Instead of printing it, they're putting a sticker on. We're staining it, and then we're pulling the sticker off.
Yeah.
And putting it on was extremely complicated. Taking it back
The
off
concave
was
surface.
10 times harder than putting it on. I mean, we sat there for hours last night, just scratching off every little tiny star.
Well, I mean, each
60
individual star was an
60
eighth of an inch.
3,000 stars, did you say?
It was 63,000.
Yes.
Yeah,
That I scraped yesterday.
yeah. The wheat.
Yeah, I did a lot of that part.
Yeah, you did.
You guys did all the other stuff.
You had a special little technique that was getting it done pretty quick.
Well, you know, that's the great thing about everything we've always done together is that teamwork to that same point. You know, I was thinking about that yesterday because nobody knows right now, but I also destroyed my ankle 2 days ago. Not to make this any easier for myself. And so I can barely walk right now. So I was trying my hardest to help yesterday, but really feeling like there was no room for me to help, and I was miserable.
So I flew in to the rescue.
You did perfect timing, and Eric,
Yes.
thank you, Eric, came on in
My
and kind of took over for
fiancé.
some of my stuff
Yeah.
for a little while, and it was nice because then I was struggling with putting it on there and the patience it takes to press all those little tiny stars on that keep coming off on the transfer paper, and by the end of it, I wanted to pull my hair out. But then when we got to scraping, actually, I was focused. I was good. I don't know what the difference is between those two parts of the process, but for some reason, I was zoned in on that and scraping all those little stars off.
I'd like to argue that the hardest part is actually pulling the design in the production room.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. See, those are the things we don't know about.
Yes, it is.
You want to explain that?
Well, after our machine gets done cutting all of these individual dots on the vinyl material, then we'll lay it out on our production table, and we have to individually pull every single one of those dots.
And you have to do that. Isn't it sort of upside down at that point too? You're doing the
What do you mean?
reverse because you're putting the transfer paper down.
We put the transfer tape on top of the design once it's finished being pulled. Once we've pulled all the pieces.
You put that on after.
Yeah, after it's done. It
Oh.
sandwiches the design, yeah, and protects all
Oh yeah,
of the
of
pieces.
course. You couldn't do it without it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you get the thick paper that is printed on top of. There's two pieces of paper.
Cut.
There's
three layers actually
hold
in a
on, but-
normal vinyl stencil.
right, but there's two layers first of all. There's the
Yeah.
vinyl on top of a heavy duty
Backing paper.
like wax paper
Yeah,
almost, if
yeah,
you will,
mhm.
because it doesn't. It's very easy to unstick it from that.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So
mhm.
you print it all onto that. You cut the entire design into that, and then you slowly piece out with like a little
An
X-Acto knife, if you
yeah,
will.
or little picking
You know,
tools.
and you pick apart all the different pieces that are not supposed to be there. People don't think about that. They just assume a computer does everything.
No, we do all of that for you guys in advance.
That's
and
crazy.
ideally, I think the reason why we had so much trouble is the concave surface was problematic with getting it laid out as it was going on the inside. I've applied obviously to a flat surface, thousands of square feet of stencil work. But doing curved surface, I've done, a water tower, and that was complicating but manageable. Going on the inside, though, that was a challenge. I've never done that. Thank you for handing me that.
We learned a lot.
Learning experience.
We did. We learned a lot.
Talk about learning experience.
Talking about the overlay we put it on that I put on top of that design before we stenciled it, and how you had to react to that too, because I was worried about the overlay coming off. You never really know. The way that they patched it, it was weird for me because, again, this is a different industry that we've never messed with. So they don't know anything about overlay. They don't have overlay with polymer in it. They use Portland in water to patch things and stuff like that, like it's just making a cement paste.
Exactly.
And so they did that to me, and I was like, oh no, this is not going to go well. And I was really worried that my overlay was going to come off of it, or not go on really well, or the stencil was going to pull it off. Yeah. And so I was so worried about it that I made it a little too hard for you.
It's okay. I managed. We managed.
Yes, it made the stencil stick even better.
It did.
I was so worried about it.
I think that's another reason why we had, it didn't come off as easily as it could have, and we were having to painstakingly.
Because let's be realistic. If this was a floor you were polishing, this would have been a cakewalk to scrape off the floor with no problem. You wouldn't even have to worry about it. You wouldn't have scratched the concrete enough to matter. None of it, but it's not. It's an overlay. It's a whole different entity. It's a micro topping I put on there.
Polished concrete, you mean?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Correct. Polished specifically. If you're just going on to like smooth concrete, you might scratch a little bit because it's not quite as dense yet.
Yeah.
But polished concrete being so dense, stencils are a lot easier to put on and pull off.
Well, and that's where I started in the industry. It's, my comfort zone is definitely polished concrete, working with polished concrete.
All right, so we have a very short time to talk.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to tell the story that we just told Eric yesterday.
Okay.
Because it's our favorite story to talk about, the first time I ever stenciled with you.
Octopus?
Yes, the octopus. The famous, infamous octopus story. Because this is one of the greatest stories of a project.
Memorable.
Both of us have done an awful lot of stuff separately, obviously, and a few great projects together too. And this is one of the first times we worked, well, it is the first time we worked together.
Yeah,
because so one of the things is we're both, all right, before I say this, I'm going to clarify one thing. We're both artists in this industry, but you are technically a manufacturer. So there's a fine line there between which role you're playing when you're talking about the company you run, or when you're being an artist showing off your stencils, and stuff like that too. Because there's both sides of the conversation for you. Whereas I'm just more the artist all the time, showing off people's products, specifically Surf Coat all the time, things like that too.
Exactly.
Which we use Surf Coat for this one. We didn't use it for the one we're about to talk about though.
Yeah.
So she had been bugging me for years to learn how to do a stencil, and I was like, why? I can freehand it faster than you can print it out on your Illustrator. And it, because I don't go into the detail you go into. I keep things very simple. I can't do the amount of detail that you can do with a stencil. So there's limitations on both sides of it. I can do large scale very fast. I can't do small scale at all. And so there is that perfect in between where I could do this perfect tile pattern outside of it, put a big medallion in the middle, and have you stencil inside of that circular area, that whatever area that would be, and we could put a nice stencil inside of that easy. We can calculate all that out ahead of time, but there's a lot to it. The one thing about stencils is you have to know your scale before you get there. I can make up the scale to whatever I want to when I get there.
Yeah.
You don't have a second chance on top of the one we just did where you made it a little big.
You can have a second chance. We're about to talk about that. You have to really think outside the box.
Yes. Okay. So the crazy story is the two of us got an opportunity to go work with the Decorative Concrete Council and do a nonprofit project in Chicago, in the ghetto of Chicago, in the scariest area of Chicago, to the point that anytime I bring this up to people from Chicago, they're like, there's no way you were there. We don't believe you at all. No white person would ever go there. It's how bad it is, kind of thing. And I hate to say it that way, but it is 100% true. I was terrified.
Completely clueless. I rolled into that
terrified.
place like I owned it.
I never slept. There was gunshots at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock every single night. We were put up in this house right next door to. So backtrack. Miss Pearl, a good friend of ours now, Miss Pearl, decided one day to help girls out that are getting pregnant young, and help them through high school, or specifically help them through college, help them get out of this neighborhood. And so what she would do is she would babysit their kids during the day so that they could go to school, get an education, find a good job. And then I think afterward they would pay money back to her a little bit. But the biggest goal was to get them out of that area and get them successful.
Yeah, they had to contractually agree with her to stay in school.
Yes.
If they stayed in school, that was like their payment for daycare. As long as they were in school making good grades, their kids would be taken care of.
And a lot of
for
them went to
free.
nursing and stuff like
Yeah.
that, but it's all fantastic. And so she had an 80% success rate with
Yeah.
everything that she was doing. So the city went to her and don't quote me on this part. I'm paraphrasing the rest of the story. I don't need the city of Chicago getting mad at me. I've done work with them. They're great people. I don't want to say anything but city of Chicago came to her and said, hey, we would like to give you some money to help you with what you're doing because we think your cause is great. There's one catch. Religion cannot be a part of it. And she was like, no, go away. That'll never happen. And again, 80% success rate. So whether it's religion or not, it doesn't matter to me. It matters that there's this huge success rate. So Chicago came back to her the next year and said, okay, we're willing to give you the money. We don't care about how you're doing it because you're doing it. And they gave her like $400,000 to basically build a very large daycare. And so she knocked down 3 crack houses right next door to the house that she owned, that women were staying in at night and everything with their kids and everything that we stayed in. And next door, they knocked down 3 crack houses and built this huge facility for this big daycare. And then we were brought in to do the floors for them as a nonprofit project. And so what we didn't know is there is a history of this concrete. So you guys...
The slab that was poured for this facility.
Yes. Was not done by union.
No.
And it ticked off the union.
It was done by someone else also in our industry that donated the work as well. We were all donating work.
Everything was donated.
Yeah.
The floor, the concrete, everything, the finishers,
yeah.
the effort, all the stencils, all the colors, all the dyes, all the sealers, everything that was done was donated.
Yeah.
And so what happened was, from what I understand, is that the union got ticked off about this, and they put a rat in the concrete when no one was watching. And so when they finished up the concrete, they came back the next couple of days, and all of a sudden it smelled really, really, really bad. And they couldn't figure out why. And then they found out that there was a rat in the concrete, and they had to find out where it was, and they had to cut out a 10 by 10 control joint, completely cut that whole thing out and re-pour it. Now, I'm not a concrete guy. You're not a concrete guy. We don't think about these things.
Yeah.
We don't know what it takes to re-pour a 10 by 10 in the middle of a concrete slab. Not on the edge.
And finish
not an
it.
extension.
And finish
and
it.
finish it.
Yeah.
Exactly the same as everything else there. We know it's going to be a slightly different color. There's nothing we can do about that.
It's a slightly different density as well. So
Yes.
not only the end result was it a higher density concrete, so it didn't take color as well. It was also a different color, and it wasn't finished completely smooth and flat. So there was a high
Dome.
spot, a dome, right there in the very center. Now.
So, because it was a different color, we all thought, hey, let's put an octopus on top of this and distract from the fact that it's a different pour of concrete.
So I had a 7-layer design that was an octopus with all of its tentacles splayed out in all directions.
Now, before you even go farther, you said
it was 8 foot wide.
8 foot by 8 foot.
Yeah.
7 layer.
7 layers.
Now,
2 panels per layer. Yeah.
How many layers do you normally do on a job?
It's mostly, patterns, which are 1 layer, or you have maybe a 2 or 3 layer, 2 color or 3 color logo design or mask
normally
colors.
2 to 3 layer.
That's the tops.
That's
normally.
exactly why I'm bringing this up. And you did 7 layers.
Yeah, because it's really...
Okay.
They gave me carte blanche to put whatever I wanted to do on the whole entire surface. So
and we're talking about there was
wild.
an octopus, there was a giant turtle, there was a bunch of starfish, there was a bunch of little fish, there was a
clam
coral
was
reef,
really neat.
there was a clam.
Yeah.
There was sandy beach in one area, there was deep water in the other area.
Yeah.
No sharks though. I would have put a shark in there.
You're right. Well, it's a
Didn't
daycare.
want to scare the kids?
It's a daycare. I'm just saying. At any rate, so what we both discovered, I didn't know this until this project. So we both, it was a great learning experience. The first layer went down fine. We didn't have any troubles lining anything up, but with FloorMaps, we have a layers system using registration marks. That's how we do the individual layers that we've been referring to. So once we got done with the first layer, we pulled it off and the registration marks are on the ground, and we go to lay down the second layer and nothing is lining up. The only thing that lines up is right there in the very center of the slab. And then everything kind of just, we discovered that it was not lining up. You couldn't shift the panel in any one direction to get it to line up perfectly. To make a long story short, we had to, from the second layer on, we had to cut the panel into pie shapes, basically cutting each one of the tentacles off and matching up the graphics, bypassing the registration marks altogether because of this hump in the concrete. So it was a great learning lesson as far as how to create a really intricate design like that and
adjust on the fly.
And adjust on the fly. And
so to your same point, let me clarify. My first stencil in my life, and this is what I'm given. I've never done this before. I have no idea what I'm getting into. And the next thing I know, I'm knee deep in a 7-layer octopus that is not set it's not going perfect. We've got to take it apart and wing it. And I'm following her crazy. Going, sure, whatever you say. It was insane.
We had to recreate some stuff. We just had to just go with the flow, one layer at a time until we got done.
In fact, I learned so much from that one that they allowed me to do the 10-foot turtle by myself. And I did the whole thing by myself. Nobody interrupted me. Nobody touched it other than maybe helping a little bit with pulling the stencil off and things like that. I did it all by myself, and it was 4 layers. So I go from never doing this before to the hardest one you can possibly imagine to still a very complicated one at a 4-layer. Mm-hmm. And I aced it. You did. And at that point, I am a professional stencil layer at that point from this point on. Because, I mean, what more could you have for a training and for a way to learn? It was insane. Yeah.
I think the most complicated one I ever did was a newspaper print design that we did for Ameripolish.
On a vertical wall?
No, it was no. It was a floor, thankfully. But it was for Ameripolish, the World of Concrete. Forget which year, 2016 or something like that.
I forget, but that was pretty cool.
And that one, each one of the images, I think I can't remember how many colors that it was close to 60 different colors, variations of different shades of colors. And it was incredibly like a posterized effect of not a halftone, but a different way to create a print on concrete using our vinyl stencils.
That's awesome. So this project ends up going fantastic. We get everything done. You have talked to Miss Pearl a few times since then. I never have. Mm. How's she doing?
I talked to her. It's been a while. Yeah, it's been. That's so long. I've talked to her once.
See, I'm the kind of person that just does a project and leaves, and I never look back, and I never go back, and I never want to know. It terrifies me to know. I don't know why. It's my artist background. It's the idea that I sell a painting and I never see it again. I don't know. But you're the type of person that goes back to see it again, gets to know the person that owns the place, gets to be friends with them, hangs out with them in their element. Yeah, I don't know how you do it.
Took me. We went to church that Sunday. She took me to church 2 Sundays in a row. She kind of took me under her wing like a little hen, So it was a very rewarding experience. It was worth it.
And you did this on your own free will. Yeah. You were not a member of ASCC. You were asked to help with this, and you ran with it to a level that was insane. Yeah.
The customer of mine that invited me was the one that poured the slab. Yeah.
Neil Roach.
Yeah, Neil Roach.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Shout out to Neil Roach in case he ever watches one of these. I doubt that. But you're awesome, man. We love you.
Yes.
Still. I just saw him the other day. Okay. Well, I wanted to talk about that. I want to talk 1,000 more things, but you are about to get on a plane. We do not have time. This is one of those moments. I feel like I'm on Joe Rogan right now where it's like, you got a plane to catch. It was great talking to you. I wish we had more time, but you got to go. They're rushing you out right now. You got a car waiting for you.
It's about like that, yeah. I don't know what time it is.
It's 10:12 or 2:12.
Oh yes, we most
right
definitely. Yeah, we need.
So thank you very much for coming.
It's a pleasure.
And we were going to do this again, but hey, see, it wasn't that bad.
No, it wasn't.
I know I talked most of the time, but I make it easy?
I'm a little bit of an introvert.
You did great.
I live vicariously through these guys.
Well, thank you so
thank
much
you.
for coming to help me with this.
Thank you.
I could not have done this without you.
You're so
Really,
welcome.
it means so much to me.
I
I
hope you
can't
win.
express how big of a deal that was that you not only made that for me, but then showed up to help me with it. You know, we've been close friends for a long time. We've been there for each other many a times. Without a shadow of a doubt, I'm there for you next time again, too.
Thank you.
Let me know when you need me to make
You've
up for
put
this
out
one.
some fires for me as well.
That's why I said
we'll
it that way.
talk about that
That's
next
my
time.
point. That's my point. So
Well,
thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
Have a great day, everyone.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Follow me on all social media platforms. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Go to FloorMapsInc.com and check out all the great things you can do with stencils. Thank you for listening and have a great day.